Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to Let's Try Star Ruler 2. Star Ruler 2 is a 4X game, that is to say, explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate your foes. And a classic example of a space-based 4X game might be something like Master of Orion. However, Star Ruler actually goes in a relatively, or I'd say significantly different direction in terms of their gameplay mechanics. The experience will be a fair bit different and quite novel. Now, the original Star Ruler also did the same thing and had some pretty cool way to design your ships with the ability to also scale your ships up to truly gargantuan sizes. I mean, if you somehow found the way to be able to produce it in a reasonable amount of time, you could build ships that were as big as entire solar systems. And that's a pretty interesting sort of concept. However, some of the industrial chains I found in Star Ruler 2 might have been a little hard to swallow for the average player. Star Ruler 2 tries to simplify things a little bit more and make them a bit more accessible, while still not losing some of its novel features and ability to form sort of industrial chains. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that game, or at this game right now. We're going to go ahead and start a new game over here. The game comes with 7 races built in. There is a certain amount of ability to customize the race, which is say choose from a series of predefined government styles over here. Choose your FTL method. This game is more about moving around in space than some other 4X games. So your FTL method, your ability to travel faster than light, is going to have a pretty big impact on your experience. And then you've got the ability to pick some sort of a life option, which is, I guess, how your life form kind of works. We're going to go ahead and stick with, oops, if I go back to the first screen over here, we're going to stick with Terrakin, since they're probably the most vanilla of the races, and your experience is going to be relatively straightforward. Some of them down the road, they say they're not recommended for beginners, probably because of some of their mechanics. The Star Children mechanic here, for example, where your population only grows on a mothership, which is a little bit different, and a few other things like that. So we'll go with the Terrakin. We'll play that. You get to pick the look of your ships. All your ships will basically look the same thing. We'll use these Mechanica if we want to, and then you choose your racial color and your banner. We'll leave that there. A bit of a background story about some of your character or your fleet. And our opponents, looks like we'll have the Oko and the Hunan over here. The Oko are going to use fling beacons for the FTL. The Hunan are also going to use hyperdrives, same as me. Choose our map type. I guess we'll choose, I don't know, Spiral Galaxy. How many systems, how far apart they are, whether we want to be flattened, so it's sort of made into 2D, for example. And a few other game options that you can tweak here if you want to customize your experience a little bit. I'll go ahead and just start the game. So here is the Galactic Map. We can sort of rotate it around, zoom in and out, do all that kind of thing. We've started in one of the galactic arms. We're going to zoom in here. We can move around with WASD. I personally like to just look directly down onto the map. I find it makes it just a lot easier to kind of watch things and figure out what's what. This is our starting system over here. We've started on one planet. We're on Theolo 1. I guess, over here in the Thalio star. Wow, I'm not going to be able to say that. In the, we're going to call this the Frank system. So we're on planet Frank number 1. And we've got an entire galaxy to play around with. We do have one initial fleet going on here, and this is a fleet. That's the concept that is a big deal in this game. You control your flagship, and you move around with it like that, but it has a wide support net of other ships around it. We've got, if I go to my managed supports, we've got beam ships, missile boats, and gunships, for example. I believe there are also a heavy gunship class in here as well. And we've got 30, 50, and 90 of them. So massive amounts of ships are going around escorting your flagship here. By flagship, that 96 means the size of the ship. It is a size 96 ship. If we go into the designs real quick, that's probably one of the most interesting aspects of Star Ruler over here. Actually, I should pause the game before I do that. Here are the ships that you can build. Now, we can go ahead and load up one of these designs over here, this battleship. And you can see it's sort of a hex-based building system. Now, if we were to go and just build our own new design over here, you'll notice the first thing we don't do is we don't pick a hull. You can pick a class here, so we're going to make a new flagship type vessel. It's going to be flagged as a combat type thing. We don't pick a class or a hull. Huge battleship hull requires minimum size 16. Well, that's because you can type in the size of your ships. There's a size 16 ship, Or maybe we want a size 1600 ship. The difference is the cost and how much production is required to build it. The design is identical, including if I took one of my existing designs. So the heavy carrier here, for example, is the ship I started with, a size of 96. If I make this a size 960 ship, that's it. I can just save the design, and it works exactly like this. The design here just gets scaled up. So it's got a laser here and a laser here, for example, and it's got some missile launchers in the front. Well, those just become more powerful lasers, or, you know, more lasers, more missiles, that sort of thing. You can see as I change the size, hit enter, the health, the damage per second, and so on all changes. So you can basically just use a few designs if you want and scale them based on your size, or of course you can keep making your own. You actually get to paint these down if you want. So if I want to go ahead and add, say, a railgun battery over here on the side, I can literally just sort of paint this down. Oh, my design's not quite right because you have to put down the sort of place where it comes out over here. But then you can keep expanding this and increase its effectiveness. Now, there is a maximum number of spaces, and again, this doesn't matter how big your ship is. Doesn't matter the size here, just it can only use 128 tiles, and this ship design happened to use quite a few of them there. It's actually almost capped as is, but you can sort of paint down, get your own sort of design, especially if you start with a blank slate. You know, put down the crew deck over here, a little bit of ammo storage behind it, and then, again, start with maybe those railguns. Oops, I'm doing that the wrong way. End up with something like that. Maybe we'll make it kind of, we'll end up with a missile launcher on the other side, and so on and so forth. So it gives you a lot of flexibility into how you actually design your ship. Now, the way these actual tiles work basically just add stats, but in actual combat, it comes up. It becomes important. Oh, that's why I don't have my full options. I'm building a support ship there. But in combat, depending on where things are positioned and where you get shot from, it'll damage certain systems, which is kind of a neat little thing. Anyway, that is the ship design there. You can have stations, you can have exploration ships, for example, miners and scout ships, and you get to design all those things. The scout is pretty heavy on just engines, for example, right over there. All right, I like this tabbed interface too. I haven't seen that before in a 4X game, and I think it has a lot of potential as a kind of UI thing. Let's go ahead and back to the world map and talk about how we might want to expand. So we currently have one system. If we go and double click on it, we can see inside of it. It's currently got 3 billion people in here. It's at 3 of 3 population. Pressure capacity is kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a weirdly worded kind of system that I don't completely broke, but as you connect more planets to your overall empire and your trade system, you will get a certain type of pressure being applied to your planet, and you can use up that pressure with some of the buildings. For example, if we look at the, I'm lying about that one. If we look at this research complex, for example, here, it produces research pressure, and there's a whole civilian building system. People will build civilian buildings, I believe, based on this pressure. So if you give more research pressure in an area, the civilians will build more research buildings, for example. Kind of an odd way to operate, maybe not intuitive, but it's kind of a neat and fresh take on the genre. And that's the whole thing I keep saying about this game. It's like, all right, it's got some pretty unique stuff. Let's go ahead and build us maybe a couple of scout ships over here. Again, they're size 16. They will take 57 seconds to build, and that is in real time. On speed 1, you can go ahead and multiply the speed as far as times 10, in which case things will process pretty damn quickly. Let's leave it on speed 2 for now. I think that'll be pretty good. When you do build a building, you actually have to choose a location to plop it down on the planet, and you do have to wait for some of these tiles to become work. These are undeveloped tiles, for example, and as the planet develops itself, more of these tiles will be claimed. So we've got a scout in place. This is our main fleet, but we have a scout ship over here, which is just a single ship, and we're going to use it to do some scouting about. Now, we can scout ourselves simply by right-clicking somewhere. Well, it moved there because I had the system, but I can also just click anywhere in space, and the ship will move in that direction. I can also tell it to auto-explore, in which case it will automatically bounce around systems. There's also this hyperdrive command, because that is my hyperdrive, or my FTL system, and I can use that and then hyperdrive there. The ship will pause momentarily. Well, it'll do this sort of warp technique, and then it'll poof to the other place a little bit extra fast. There it is. The warp actually engaged and operated much, much more quickly. I can also tell it to auto-explore with FTL. Now, FTL, hyperdrive type things, do use energy. We have a certain number of FTL energy available here, and that is empire-wide. We generate 1 per second right now, so constantly hopping will use a fair amount of cost. but it does replenish. You can also find planets that give you more of these. The other resources up top, we have money here. What's interesting about this game, unlike many others, you don't actually have sort of a treasury that accumulates cash. Instead, you have a budget based on your incoming funds. Oh, we saw it there, the planetary income. Right now, my planet is generating 760,000 space bucks per 3-minute cycle. It's a 3-minute cycle over here, although we are operating at double speed right now. And there's a certain upkeep for your ships and your buildings. Any excess at the end of the budget cycle gets applied somewhere. By default, it gets applied to influence generation, but you can also have it generate energy, research, bonus labor points on our home world, or global defense generation, which are these other stats over here. This is influence, energy. This is the FTL system, which you can't generate from this. This is research points, and this is defense points. Defense points are used to automatically build defensive ships throughout your empire. The diplomacy screen is actually one of the most interesting there is, and hopefully we will have our scout ship find some other race. We've got another scout over here, so that we can employ a little bit of diplomacy. It's a really interesting system. These influence points over here are used to purchase certain cards. So influence peddling and events, for example, and these are the ones that I have. I have the ability to name a flagship, name a planet, and I have a couple of negotiate cards. This is a strength 4 negotiate card, and this is a strength 2 negotiate card. I can purchase some more of these if I want as well by spending influence. I only have 2 right now, so I can't really do it. It's worth noting as you watch this counter ticks down, the one on the left will go away, and new one coming on the right. The price will also change. The further to the right something goes, the cheaper it'll get, but of course you're fighting with other people to do that. This is a policy I could put in if I wanted to. Whenever another empire starts a vote or persistent effect, I gain leverage against them. Leverage is actually a card. So there's a pretty complex little diplomatic system in this game that, again, we'll hopefully be able to show off. The research screen, I feel, is one of maybe the ugliest and the least clear in the game. It'd be really nice if they took another pass at this. But again, it's kind of an interesting system. So there's these core spots here for science. Well, I guess they're all called science now that I think about it. These are the roots of all knowledge. You can only purchase things that are adjacent to this. So we start here and we can purchase armoring, command, synergy, or from here, propulsion, impact, energy. And for here, economics, business, and metallurgy. Business is a good example of this whole money system. If I unlock this, it'll permanently increase my budget income by 150,000 once it's unlocked, which makes it a pretty nice one to do. Quite a few of these things have alternate costs as well. For example, economics here, I can either spend 200 research points or I can spend 8 influence points if I would prefer to do that. And then once I unlock something like business, for example, I'd then have the ability to unlock commerce and so on. So things that are adjacent. Some of the military ones over here give us an automatic upgrade. For example, command here gives us the ability to support more support ships from our flagships, but armoring here actually unlocks a new type of plating, a new type of upgrade for our ship design. So at this point, we've gone ahead and we've discovered a few more systems and we found the planets within them. So what do we do with that? Well, we can go ahead and colonize more planets. And to do that, what you can do is you simply right-click on the planet and you can choose to colonize it, for example. I think alternatively, I think there was another command when I went through the tutorial, but I can't remember what it is at this point. But basically, the easiest way to do is to right-click on the planet and say to colonize it. The other way of doing it, was it drag? No, that's exporting goods. I can't remember what the other command was. There was another way. Oh, with the planet selected, now I can colonize directly from Failio to here. But if I don't have a planet selected, and I just right-click on a planet, I can colonize it. The game will decide the best planet to colonize from. Colonizing requires that I move 1 billion population from one planet to another, and so it'll depend on that. I think it'll choose distance as well. So what's the point of colonizing? Well, obviously, the more you expand, the more resources you will have. Well, how will resources work in this game? Well, you do get money from planets that you sort of colonize, ish. Sometimes depends a little bit on the level of the planet itself. But one of the things is every planet in this game has a resource. So this planet here has water. This one has grain, which is a food. This one has textiles. And my current starting planet has both food and water. And what you can do is you set up these sort of resource chains. For example, if I want to go and colonize Phalo so that I have access to its textiles, which are potentially good for making money, but also push us up further and further up the chain, then what we want to do, the higher level a planet is, actually that's the right way to explain it. The higher level a planet is, so my capital right now is level 1. If I want to upgrade it to level 2, I need another food source and I need a tier 1 resource. So first of all, let's go ahead and import. Sorry, we're going to colonize from Phalo over here. And what we're also going to do is we're going to drag from Phalo to, or from planet 2 to planet 1. We're going to drag this line. Once Phalo 2 is colonized, then it will send its grain to my capital here, Phalo 1. And that is one of the requirements. But we also need a tier 1 resource. Now, over here, textiles is a tier 1 resource. So what we want to do is colonize this planet as well. So I'm going to queue it up. Yeah, there's automation options. We're going to leave that off for now so we can talk about them. So these are all colony ships that are coming over here to colonize Phalo. You can see its population rising. And once it gets to level 1, then it will start to produce food. However, you can see here, the requirement for level 1 is not just the population. It needs food and water. We're actually going to need to colonize a water planet before this, well, actually, never mind. We don't have to upgrade this to level 1. We're actually quite happy with this being a level 0 planet. There we go. It is now done. It is now shooting food over to Phalo 1 over here, which has removed its requirement. However, it still has a requirement that it has a tier 1 resource. So the thing over here that's very important is to note, to produce textiles, this has to be a level 1 planet. So we have to bring Phalo 4 to level 1, which means we need water and we need food. Okay, well, we can colonize another water planet over here and again get the water to Phalo 1, but we also need food. Well, this food is already being used here, which means we're going to have to look outside of our solar system for a food planet. Right over here, we've got fish from Theta 1. So we'll colonize this one and we'll tell it to send the fish over to here. And then we're going to go ahead and let it fast forward at speed 10. So we're going to first colonize the water world. You can see our population here has dropped. It will try to colonize the next planet, but we have to wait until the population goes up enough. Looks like it has started to send those colony ships over to the next one there. Then we'll bring the speed back down to maybe ×2. I think that's probably pretty good. This planet should get colonized. We're at speed 10. Nope, nope, nope. Still getting the ships. Is that one? Nope. There we go. This planet is now size 1. So now it is sending the food over to this planet. And now Phalo is level 1. Although it still needs 1 population boost. And we can also tell it to export its textiles to our capital. So as soon as this population goes up to level 2, it will start to send textiles over to Phalo 1, which will bring it up to level 2. That will increase our tax base. If we go over to the planet screen over here, at least I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. Currently, Phalo 1 is creating 50K, 53K. Oh, the population base is rising, which is why that's going up there. Also, I think the population cap will go up when it goes up to a level. Well, we'll see if that's exactly true or not. Just got to wait one more tick for this population to go in here. There we go. It is now level 1, which means it's sending the food over here. And there we go. Population cap is now 8. That's where we're going to make more money over here. We're going to have a bigger population cap, which means we're going to make more money from that planet. And that's how the economy goes. So then we're going to be like, okay, so that's level 1. How do we get this bad boy up to level 3? Well, for level 3, it needs yet another food resource, and it needs a another tier 1 resource, and it needs a tier 2 resource. Okay, so we're going to have to hunt down a little bit for that. Well, luckily, there is actually one little handy thing we can do. On this planet, I can right-click on it and say, listen, auto-import to level 3. So what it will do over here, this queues up some transportation. Well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but this planet is waiting for a food resource, a tier 1 resource, and a tier 2 resource. Now, let's go find a food resource planet. Is there one over here? Nope. Let's find another system. Looking for food. Right over here, we've got some meat, which we don't currently have in our capital, I don't think. No, we've got grain. Actually, we've got double grain. Great. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and tell it to we're going to colonize this meat world. So that should happen relatively quickly. Let's go ahead and boost the speed up again. Again, this is not necessarily the way that is recommended to be played, but I'm trying to show you guys the actual mechanics over here. If we go and send our population over to here, that should be enough to get this planet online, and it will send the food automatically. See that? Because I told my capital, I'd right-clicked on my planet and told it to... Can I not right-click on this one? I guess there's no point in upgrading this one because it's not the capital. I told it to do auto-import up to level 3. So it automatically created this trade route, which is really, really handy. Now, we need a tier 1 resource and a tier 2. Well, here's a tier 1, for example, and it's the same thing, electronics. So I'm going to colonize it, but I'm actually going to tell it to colonize it and auto-import to level 1. We know that to go to level 1, it will need some water. So let's go and also tell it to colonize this planet over here, and it will need another food resource. So we're going to go and find one of those. There we go. We've got some grain over there. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Once all these things are colonized, then this planet will become a level 1 planet, which means it will produce electronics, and we already have in our queue for Phalo to receive that, which is great. But to get to level 3, we also need a tier 2 resource, which means we have to do this chain quite a few times. So here's a tier 2 resource, which is great, but we'd have to get this. To produce this tier 2 resource of jewelry, this would have to be a level 2 planet, which means it also need a tier 1 planet and some food. And we know the tier 1 planet would also need food and water. And so you're forced to keep expanding quite aggressively. The planets that just produce like a food or water, for example, they're actually pretty high value planets because you end up needing quite a bit of them. You also don't necessarily want to expand too quickly, because when you do, your population goes down as you spam out the colony ships, and that can impact your funds a little bit. Most of the, if we look over here, the planets with low population, because these planets are level 0, they're capped at 1 unit of population, they will never turn a profit for you. So you want to make sure that this chain is always going up quite a bit. You can actually go up all the way to, I believe, level 5 planets as well. As far as I can tell, there are no level 4 or level 5 resources, there's no new goods being produced unless I have missed something. But you will continue to make more and more tax money, not to mention have a large population base, which can then be used to produce more things. You can see here the planet has a lot more workable tiles now. So if I wanted to be able to build ships really fast, I could, for example, put down another factory, including replacing one of my little cities over there. It'll cost me a little bit of money as well as an upkeep over time, but the increased labor over here will allow us to build things in a much more reasonable rate. Because if we look here at these ships, this battleship here would take 17.5 minutes to build. Sure, I can go at times 10 speed, but that still represents something that will be quite slow to get to the front. So it'd be nice to get the production. Looks like we actually have our very first proposition put down here. Someone has put down the idea of the Zeitgeist Progress proposition. So if this passes, 50% of all energy generation on planets and by civilian structures is converted into research generating instead. So galaxy-wide, everyone would make less energy but do more research. If the vote passes, the most supportive empire will receive a bonus of +3 research per second. So if whoever is the biggest supporter for this will get tons of free research, which is awesome. If it fails, the most opposing empire will receive an instant bonus of 800 energy. You can see here that there are 8 votes against. Someone has voted 8 against this. There it is, right over here. This federation, which means it's almost certainly going to fail. You can see the timer going over here. If there's enough positive votes to send it positive again, then the red line will go away, and then the green line will start to build. Once it reaches one end or another, that's when it succeeds or fails. It will, I guess, probably fail at this point, and which means that this federation over here will actually get that 800 energy boost, which is quite nice. How do you vote in one of these propositions? Well, you play these cards. You can see I've got these negotiate cards over here. It does cost me influence to play them, and they've got a certain amount of weight. If I wanted to, I could send this positive. It would really be possible. I guess for the demo, for the sake of argument, I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. I'm going to play it in support. You can see here we're at -3. I'll play some more in support. We're now at +1. Also, that put me in the in the situation of being the most supportive, which means I'll get the bonus research. So I guess if we're going to do it, we're going to go a whole hog. You can see I'm out of diplomatic actions now, so I'm going to have to go and get some more, assuming I have any influence. And I don't really, unfortunately. You can see here, I don't have the influence to get any more of these cards. So not only will this go away, but all those cards and all those influence points I spent is pretty much going to be gone. I am earning some influence points automatically because of my planets. Also, if I'm ending my budget cycle with a surplus, that is being converted into some extra influence points, but I have now lost all that, which is kind of unfortunate. So with those scouts, we made contact with some people, that thing's in progress. Oh, the Confederacy of Hunan has invited me to sign a treaty. Did I miss it? Right over here. Shared vision. Sure, I will sign this treaty of shared vision with the Hunans. That sounds pretty good. Meanwhile, let's take a look at my little base over here. This little outliner over here can be turned on and off for different types of features if we want. And one of the most important ones right now is the partially colonized planets. So these are planets that are currently being colonized, but haven't quite reached the 1 population. So we're getting another unit of water over there. I believe that is going to be Ditrak. That is going to bring Ditrak up to level 1 once that population comes in. Diplomacy. So yeah, this is still going. It's definitely going to fail, which makes me kind of sad. Ooh, Annex Planet is a really cool one. We're going to go ahead and purchase that. That is another sort of vote and influence thing that you can do to basically, yeah, just make a planet, point at a planet and say that's mine. And assuming you've got enough influence, you can basically convince the World Senate that that is true. You can also basically purchase votes from people. You can say, hey, if you support me, if you spend influence in my favor, I will give you X number of dollars to do so. You can bribe them with a variety of things. So here's some neutral badasses over here. Let's go ahead and get our fleet. Military flagships. There it is. We'll get our fleet here. We'll get it to try to engage these remnants. Most likely we will lose, but we may as well give it a go. So I'm going to just hyperdrive right in next to these guys, and then they will fight. All right. We're still waiting for this to become colonized. Hasn't happened yet. Oh, because this area is actually being blockaded. Hold on, fleet. Stop. You're actually going to hyper jump to here, because we've got a bit of a blockade around my planets, and now my my colony ships, well, this one got through, although it's being bombarded. Colony ships as well as transports may not be able to get to my planet. That's why this is going so slowly. So we're losing like 100,000 people, actually like 100 million people every time one of those things gets shot down, which is pretty devastating. So let's bring in our fleet. We may not be able to take these guys. I think they've got a total health, or actually that might be the flagship, of 3.3k. They're also a little low on supply, so we're not going to have that. We just jumped in right next to them, which is going to make this extremely chaotic. But every ship starts to take part in the combat. You know, we can specify, hey, you've got to attack this starship, but they're like, yeah, they're on it. They attack the whole fleet. It's fleet on fleet combat, and so this is down to 2.6. My own ship is uninjured currently, which is good. I think we'll be able to do that. And they've just run out of ordnances. So they're actually out of ammo. They can still fire their energy weapons. There we go. Clean up this mess. So that'll ensure that everything here is going swimmingly. So you do have to worry about these little random things. There's also some pirates that can buzz around, for example. And of course, eventually, you will run into your opposition. Here, these are the only 2 opposition AIs I have in here. But you could, of course, throw in quite a bit more if you wanted to. And that is basically the game. Zeitgeist power. More votes against. If the vote passes, the energy generation rate of all empires will be increased by 25%. All empires will be able to construct solar engine orbitals to generate more power. It's going to fail, which is going to lead to these guys having even more money. I'd almost like to, or these guys having more money. Be nice to snag that, but I'm not in a position to do it. We can do a rush. We've got the Annex power already. We need to get more of these negotiates, but they're too expensive right now, so we'll have to just keep an eye out on there. So there's a lot of things to consider. We've got no research points yet. Oh, that's my design for the scout, which we don't need. Here's my whole planet arrangement. You can see Ditrak here is still not making any money because it hasn't grown yet, but soon it will. It's currently in the process of growing, so it'll start to turn a profit. Meanwhile, all the planets we have queued up to be colonized have been colonized. We probably want to queue up a few more things, though, because we'll need it. One of the things you can do is just colonize the star itself, and all the planets in that star will be auto-colonized. For example, here we've got some water. We've got Boko here doesn't create any resources for us, but it's actually got FTL crystals, which allows this to charge up more. Note that if we just colonize it as is, it won't generate that many FTL crystals, and of course it will cost us money. So we'd want to level this up for it to actually turn a profit, which means we have to worry about doing it here. Boko, why has it got this sort of like, oh, it's a ring with the shadow of the sun. I'm like, why does it have a sea around it? We know we will need more water, although we're colonizing a little bit of it here. You know what we're going to want to do? We're going to want to colonize all the planets over here in Fern. And you'll note that not only is there colonized, but also an auto import. And the reason for that is there is a level 1, or there's a level 1 resource over here, natural gas. And we know we're going to need food and water over here. So we'll queue up the auto import. So assuming once we've got some excess food and water, it'll get imported here automatically, which means this will level up to tier 1, which means they'll be able to produce that good. Now, what we'll also be looking for is probably for these level 2 resources. Now, it's not like we necessarily need jewelry as is. Jewelry will be used to make a planet go to level 4, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. No, to level 3, to level 3. But this planet will have to become level 2. What we could do, though, is just continue to try to build up our little empire over here, or our little capital. It actually still needs a level 2. We would like it to become a level 3 planet, so we will focus at getting this bad boy on board, which will require a few extra resources. We've got some meat here. We know we're going to need that. We've got some more food, which is good. This iron is interesting. Again, this doesn't produce any goods for us, but it does increase the construction speed of support ships by 30%. I believe in this system. I don't think... Oh, no, we can send the iron somewhere else, which would be good. So if we went and colonized this planet, we could send the iron, say, to our capital, which means we will build support ships faster. Is it worth it? Maybe. Could be. Is one of my scouts? No, this is an enemy. We're going to go ahead and colonize this system and also auto-upgrade Nemostack as far as we can. It has queued up quite a few things. Again, I don't know if my strategy is correct. It is simply a strategy. A scout over here, but we're probably going to ignore it. Oh! There we go. We've actually got an influence beacon that we can pick up over here. That's probably what was being guarded by those gray dudes. There's a bunch of these little things around the universe that you can collect and get something. So this will give us some influence points, which is good. Oh, there's another vote going on here. Zeitgeist Corporation. Vote passes. All empires will gain vision over any empires they're not currently at war with. And then reduced influence based on their military size. Again, it looks like it's not going to pass. Some games I found it passes frequently and others a lot less. Now, I think there were some grays somewhere else. Yeah, right over here. And they're guarding a mining base. So we're going to go over here and attack these guys and see if we can't clear them out. Although, what I should make sure is that I've got my full support load. Some of them I think were damaged and they're going to be rebuilt. It does auto-refill them as is. So that's good. But what we can also do is say auto-buy, which will automatically buy new support ships until the fleet is full. You can see I'm currently at 310 of 483. So by having those on, things will automatically get queued and bought to max out my fleet, which is quite nice. I'm going to see if there's any cards that I might want to buy. Mall of the Galaxy. Targeted planet becomes home of the Mall of the Galaxy. Everything becomes cheaper. That's pretty tempting. But what I really need right now are some votes. Host the Senate building. That's pretty good too. It gives us more influence. But we're not getting any actual vote cards. Like, we've got stuff going on here. What we could do, though, is we can name our flagship, which makes it more powerful. So let's go ahead and do that. There we are. We can also name a planet. We don't quite have enough resources to do that. You'll note there's what looks to be a cap over here in influence, but that's because there's an optimal storage point. If you're above your optimal storage, then you don't get as many points, and you don't get as much bang for your buck on your influence generation. But it's still, you can definitely go over, and that's perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and kick up the speed a little bit and see what else we can do. We've seen the diplomacy. We've seen a little bit of the research, although I still don't have any research points to actually unlock you. If we look at the designs, we've got a planet chart over here, which again is, you know, not necessarily the clearest, but it's a thing. There's also this community tab, which includes some ship designs that might be good, that you might be into. It's also worth noting this game has built-in Steam Workshop integration for modding, which is very cool. And it's got this sort of built-in wiki. I don't know if it's like publicly editable, but basically it's got some sort of built-in documentation here. Ah, there we go. So civilian infrastructure, and which is really good. You're not going to have all your systems up to level 1. You're going to have to pick and choose just a few because it's simply going to be impossible. Whoa, we're getting attacked somewhere. It is simply going to be impossible for every system to be a level 3 system or something like that. These guys really have to be resupplied. Fleets are resupplied out of combat. Yeah, because we do want to take out, there's some more grays over there, but we can't do it quite yet. Oh, also we can activate this mining base. Right over here. Oh, I didn't realize we can actually expand this design. You can see here there's sort of momentum that has to be overcome when it tries to turn around, which is kind of a neat mechanic. The first star drive was or star ruler, my bad, was especially notable in that it was a lot of Newtonian physics going around. The other thing is there are a variety of artifacts lying around in space that'll take energy to activate. That's the importance of energy over here. So here it's Genesis device, the terraforming device that can change a planet's native resource to a random tier 2 resource. So if I had 1,000 energy, I could use that, target a planet, and get a new tier 2 planet, which is kind of a neat thing. So we have an asteroid there. Asteroid's being mined by a planet. Capture the planet to capture this mine. Well, we've got the planet, so we're okay there. Support station over here. Activatable support station, power and resupply nearby fleet during combat. See, my supplies are coming up, which is good. So let's go ahead and just teleport in right over here. And a comet, which we can activate to provide water for something. That's a neat trick. Someone wants to host the United Research Center. Yeah, I'm happy someone else is working to block that because I would love to do that too. Attach a rider to something, which gives us leverage over someone if a vote passes. There's a lot of little tweaks. I can't believe how active they're being in the diplomacy over here. We're really not getting the sort of voting potential that we want, but that's okay. And the art zeitgeist is also going to fail. Wow. Actually, it would have been really nice to be the one who fails it the hardest for 800 research points right there. But I don't have the resources. All right, so we got another battle going on over here. Blew that up, and that means we can select influential knowledge. Bam. Lots of influence points over here, but again, we need the cards to be able to spend the influence on something. See, we could grab this negotiate. I don't want to grab it when it's that expensive, though. Oh, ancient knowledge is quite good. There we go. Yeah. All other empires present receive a zero-cost one-way ancient intuition card. But this is a pretty potent card that we'll be able to use in future kerfuffleages here, because it's got a weight of 6, although it will cost 4 influence to play. Not only you have to buy it, but you need the influence to actually be able to play it as well. So this comet I got nothing I can really do with. I think this asteroid, yeah, we can move to it, but that's it. We need to build some mining bases and stuff. What's nice about capturing the existing ones is that they're already built for us. So, what do we got here? We've got an unused morphic materials, and we're still waiting for that level 2 to become active. It needs, it still needs water for level 1, so obviously we want to colonize that. And it will probably need another tier 1 resource because we don't have an unused tier 1 resource right now. So we're going to need probably to hook up one of these chemicals, for example, which means this place is also going to need water and food. So there's food over here, and we'll have to find another water source. Actually, there's a lot of little water sources here, tons of them. Let's go and colonize all these water sources because we will need them in time. And that sounds fine. Also, it's probably a good idea to start using defense for failure. Over here, we've got a defense that builds up over time, 1 per minute, and we get to decide where to spend it. So by enabling it on a system, these systems will automatically start build some defensive ships. Anything else we can buy? There's a negotiate card. Nice. And that's what I'm going to try to do, is just pick up more of these negotiates so I can actually take part in more of these decisions. That's a nice tank there, and there's no bonus for being the one to fail it the hardest, which would be really nice. We still have this treaty over here, this zeitgeist here. What do you get? 4 random influence cards if we fail it the hardest. Doesn't seem worth doing. And that's it. So this is the bulk of the game. It feels to me when I was playing. And, maybe this is just something that, you need to get more used to it. But it did feel a little samey and a little unfocused past this initial bit. I quite like this sort of workflow of connecting everything up. We're currently losing money as well, probably because, yeah, we're expanding to a lot of low-level planets that aren't really turning a profit. I'm actually surprised that this one, there we go, it is turning a bit of a profit now that the population has just increased. We just have to wait for it to grow. Again, when you expand a lot, when you colonize a lot, your economy will crash because your new planets don't make any money, and by sapping the population away from the planets that were established, you are then going to lose a little bit of cash, but you bounce back relatively well. It just means you're not building spaceships basically while that's going on there, and that's not so bad. So we're only colonizing 1 planet right now. Really? All this water already kicked in? Yeah, I guess we had a lot of idle population around. Now that's starting to kick in, which is fine. We're still waiting for a level 2 to kick in, which is here. So this just needs population before it can turn that, but it is growing, which is fine. And what about this one over here? This needs a little bit more food. So let's go ahead and colonize that. Because we need a bit more food resources. And we may as well throw on a couple more of those too, because we will need them eventually. So yeah, this I think ends our quick look at Star Ruler 2. I didn't talk about how you invade planets. Basically, all you do is, if you're at war with someone, you can grab your fleet and go to a planet. Well, I guess I can't do it now because I'm not at war. Hold on. Let me go and declare war on these guys. Hello. We actually have a bit of a treaty, but we're going to go ahead and declare war on you. Boop. No offense, bro. And then we can capture the planet. So what will happen is our fleet especially if we FDL over here, so it's a little bit faster. Our fleet will go and sit in orbit around a planet, subjugating the population. You don't have to build transport ships. You don't have to build, you don't have to do any sort of ground assault. It basically happens automatically. It's a very high-level game. You know, you are really playing an emperor that's mostly just concerned with making sure that you colonize the right planets so that the goods are being passed around. So now that we're here, for example, we can go and move to capture that planet. Let me bump it up to speed 10. This planet did have defenses set up, so we're going to have to go and blow those up. But a handful of support ships are no match, really, for a full capital ship. I'm running on speed 10 right now. Woo! We stopped capturing it. Oh, because we ran out of supply. Look at that. We ran out of supply, and therefore we stopped capturing this planet. So we would actually have to FTL back to friendly territory now. So let's do that. Let's go to my actual home world over here. And go back. Oh, my capital has actually got a size 16. It's making huge amounts of cash. That's the thing. Whenever you start turning a profit, that's like a good time to say, I think I will expand like everywhere. Let's colonize to all these planets, for example. And you know what? Why not do these over here too? However, in the meantime, we are not really doing anything with our war. It'll help later when you get multiple fleets going around. Makes it a bit easier to manage everything and to do more attacks. By the way, I think I talked about it, but I can't recall. To build a new fleet, you basically just queue up a new ship over here. So let's say I want so I've got the heavy carrier. Let's build an actual battleship over here. It'll take all my money, but it'll get it built. If I had more money, I could also queue up, there we go, some support ships to be built at the same time as this battleship, but I can also, from the fleet screen itself, I can order more support ships to be queued up there as well. So anyway, that is it for our look. Looks like we're being conquered over here. Fair enough. Look at that. They've actually stolen one of my systems just because I'm not going around defending it. I'm also running at speed 10, which you should not do when you're actually playing. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.